Early life and education. Sojourner Truth was named Isabel Baumfried when she was born around 1797 in Ulster County, New York, with her parents. She was held in slavery and prevented from receiving any education. She was bought and sold 4 times and subjected to harsh physical labor and violent punishments. In her teens, she was united with another slave with whom she had 5 children, beginning in 1815. She never learned to read or write. In 1850, she dictated what would become her autobiography, The Narrative of Sojourner Truth, to Olive Gilbert, who assisted in his publication. Truth was an African American who was a slave born on November 26, 1797, but she died on November 26, 1883. When she was a slave, she was bought 4 times from white people and forced to do hard labor, but also got punished. She was struggling with 5 children in 1815. In 1827, Sojourner Truth went away with one of her children named Sophia and had to leave her other children for a better life and end up finding a family, the Van Wagners. The Van Wagners bought her for $20 and gave Sojourner Truth and her daughter freedom. After that, she moved to New York in 1883. She worked for a local minister in a shop. She was weeping for the minister for extra change so she can provide for her daughter and her. She realized that working for the minister isn't enough, so she became a charismatic speaker. As an itinerant preacher, Truth met William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass. Garrison's anti-slavery organization encouraged Truth to give speeches about the evils of slavery. She also got inspired by religion. After William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass told Sojourner Truth to give out free speeches, she went to a church to give out speeches to uplift black people. Sojourner Truth also influenced other people, such as helping black people in the Civil War. She also helped donate other people food to help millions. She also influenced women's rights to serve women and uplift other people believe in themselves. Sojourner Truth made men and women believe that they don't have to be a servant or a house slave to white people.
Literary career by decade. Sojourner Truth was an African-American evangelist, abolitionist, women's rights activist, and author born into slavery before escaping in 1826. After she gained her freedom, she started preaching about abolitionism and equal rights for everyone. One of her most famous abolition and women's rights speeches in American history is "Ain't I Woman?"
Well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women at the North all talk about rights, the white man gonna be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this here talking about? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages, lifted over ditches, and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages, or over mud puddles, or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as any man when I could get it. And I could bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children, seen most sold off into slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? And they talk about this thing in the head. What is it they call it? Oh, that's right, yeah, intellect. That's it, honey. But what's that got to do with women's rights and Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours holds a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full? That man in the back there, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Well, where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? He came from God and a woman. Man didn't have nothing to do with it. If the first first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, all alone, well, these women here together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And they asking to do it. The men better let them.
Even after this, she continued to speak out about women's rights and abolitionism.
Trials and tribulations. Sojourner Truth was very clear, very early, that legal emancipation was not full freedom. Overcoming the challenges of slavery, illiteracy, penury, prejudice, and sexism in her own lifetime. Sojourner Truth worked for freedom and to end racism by mobilizing thousands to support abolition, align their Christian faith with anti-slavery activism, and concretize the founding ideals of America and lives of all. Famous work. In 1850, she dictated what would become her autobiography, The Narrative of Sojourner Truth, to Olive Gilbert, who assisted in its publication. Truth survived on sales of the book, which also brought her national recognition. She also helped Black escape to freedom on the Underground Railroad after moving to Battle Creek in 1857. She also became the first Black woman to win such a case against a white man. She also began a lecture tour that included a women's rights conference in Akron, Ohio, where she delivered her famous speech.
The impact of their work. Sojourner Truth worked to supply troops with the needed clothing and other necessities. She worked to recruit African American soldiers for the Union. She also worked with newly emancipated African Americans with the Freedmen's Bureau. She worked with other prominent female abolitionists, including Lucretia Mott, Harriet Beecher Stowe, and the sisters Angelica and Sarah Grimke. Her work and her personal example helped bring an end to slavery in the United States.
Criticism by peers. During the Civil War, Sojourner Truth took up the issue of women's suffrage. She was befriended by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, but disagreed with them on many issues. Most notably, Stanton's threat that she would not support the Black vote if women were denied it. Her language is controversial, provocative, and unforgettable. She delivered the speech in 1851 at a women's convention in Akron, Ohio. Truth's "Ain't I a Woman" speech is meant to be controversial. Her speech criticizes white privilege while calling attention to gender and racial disparity in America.
As a itinerant preacher, and Truth met William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass. Garrison's anti-slavery organization encouraged Truth to give speeches about the evils of slavery. She also got inspired by religion after William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass told Sojourner Truth to give out free speeches. She went to church to give out speeches to uplift Black people. Sojourner Truth also influenced other people, such as helping Black people in the Civil War. She also helped donate other people food to help millions. She also influenced women's rights to certain women uplift some other people to believe in themselves. Sojourner Truth made men and women believe that they don't have to be a servant or a house slave to white people.
Sojourner Truth gave speeches about slavery and Black people rights. She gave out her famous speech called "Ain't I a Woman?" She also spoke about racial equality to Black women and Black men. She outspoken about abolition, temperance, and civil rights for women. She was an utmost person. She was a straight-talking person and was an unsentimental person. She also became a symbol of Black women, and they viewed her as a strong Black person. She is a figure of imposing physique, riveting preacher, and spell-binding singer who dazzled listeners with her wit and originality. Sojourner Truth went to church and organized a situation for Black people. She gave speeches to Black people because of slavery. People would come to church or come to deal with getting beat or being enslaved. Sojourner Truth made people have faith in themselves and believe to fight for their rights. She also helped the Freedmen's Bureau, helping free slaves and helping slaves find jobs.
Sojourner Truth was born in Isabella Bumfree, 1797 in Ulster County, New York, but also was born to slavery. She died on November 26, 1883. She died of old age in her own home. She was the age of 86 when she died in Battle Creek, Michigan in 1883. She also had no type of disease, and she was a healthy woman.
Sojourner Truth, famous quotes. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, These women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. And now they are asking to do it. The men better let them. I am not going to die. I'm going home like a shooting star. If women want any rights more than they got, why don't they just take them and not be talking about it? That little man in black there, he says women can't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from?